What's up, faithful? I'm Al Sacco. He's Brian Renick. This is the 49ers Web Zone No Huddle podcast, part of the Odyssey Network. Brian, I'm going to make a statement, and I don't say this lightly. This isn't something I just go throwing around. You know me, I tend to go maybe on the more pessimistic side, but I'm going to make a statement here and now. I think that the 2023 49ers are the best the best 49ers team that we've seen since the 1994 version. Am I crazy?
I don't think you're crazy because up until that point, I would have argued that moniker probably belonged to either the 2019 49ers that lost to the Chiefs or the 2012 49ers who lost to the Ravens in the Super Bowl. I would have thought those two would have had that moniker, but this team, I'm running out of ways to talk about them in not in like a negative or positive way. It's just like I'm running out of superlatives for this team. I said it to you earlier that this episode was going to be a gush fest, and that's really what it is. It's just an absolute gush fest about just how damn good this team is. And I don't know. I have a hard time looking into the future and seeing a team that will give this Niners team a run for their money. This Dallas game on Sunday is going to be phenomenal. And I don't expect a blowout or anything like that, but I still expect a victory. And that's just how good this team is.
Yeah, I would say if I had to pick, probably would have said the 2012 team would have been the best prior to that. They were really good. And 2013 team actually was loaded too. Those were two pretty loaded teams. I would probably take those both over the 2019 team. But this team to me, and look, there's a long way to go, but they're playing with a purpose. They seem to understand the assignment. We talked about a little bit in the preseason. There was a little bit of a weird vibe with some of the Lance stuff, and is Bosa going to sign in time? And the second those lights went on, the switch flipped right away. From the word go in Pittsburgh, this team was just ready to go. All the bullshit gone, doesn't matter. Focused on one thing, and that's going out and kicking everybody's ass to hopefully get to a Super Bowl. That's what this team seems focused on to me. And also what we're seeing with this team, all the teams that we talked about, these great 49ers teams recently have had strong defenses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Willis and Earl Bowman and Justin Smith and all those guys. And then, recently was Bosa and DeForest Buckner and Richard Sherman. And this team's got that too. We'll talk a little bit more about the defense later. I don't know if this defense is going to be as strong as those teams were, but it's still actually a very, very good defense.
Mm-hmm.
But the offense is the difference in two key spots. Quarterback, which I'm getting ready to say this is the best quarterback they've maybe had since, I'm not comparing him to Steve Young, but maybe since Steve Young. He has no Steve Young, but maybe the best QB play we've seen since Steve Young. And they have an offensive player who's the best we've seen since, do you want to argue Terrell Owens? Do you want to argue Jerry Rice in what Christian McCaffrey is doing right now? So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Purdy and his 20 of 21 performance? Or do you want to start with Christian McCaffrey, who definitely looks like the early leader for Offensive Player of the Year and probably in the MVP conversation? Where do you want to go? Where do we kick this off?
I'm going to say let's start with Christian McCaffrey because the man had 4 touchdowns on Sunday. And since he's come over to the 49ers in what ESPN called a C- trade, there have been 18 games that he has played in, and he has 21 touchdowns and 2,226 all-purpose yards. It's just like you said.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and like you've said multiple times, if the league operated like the NBA, they'd want to hop in a time machine and absolutely not allow that trade to happen, not allow Christian McCaffrey to go to the San Francisco 49ers for a second, a third, a fourth, and a 2024 fifth round pick. That's it. That is it. That is what they sent for the in my eyes, front runner for NFL MVP through 4 weeks of the season. I knew Christian McCaffrey was good. I loved him at Stanford. I knew that there was no chance that the 49ers were going to get him when he came out. But I also knew that he was going to be a stud. I just how could I have even thought to think that he would be this level of good? And the one thing that has impressed me more than anything is how powerful Christian McCaffrey is. I think you think of him as like almost like a third down back, right? Because of how good he is as a receiver and how well he. And you're like, no, this guy is a bowling ball with knives. Like he will run directly through your chest, and he will send you flying if you aren't prepared to take on some punishment. And he's just so fun to watch. That hurdle was a thing of beauty. There's one picture floating around from an angle that was like the back, I would say the back left corner of the end zone. So it's just a perfect shot of him like midair as the Arizona defender is laying on the ground and his feet are up. And, they asked him after the game, like, do you think about things like that? And he's no, it's just instinctual. And it's like, and that's where you're like, there are just some dudes that are born with it. And Christian McCaffrey was born with it. And it's just fun to watch.
I think back to, like you mentioned, ESPN gave it a C minus. And even at the time, there's just a thought now with running backs that they don't make that much of a difference, really. You can replace them. It's a quarterback league. It's a passing league. And I was definitely on team, and I am still to an extent, team, not pay running backs because they're replaceable and because they get hurt and all that stuff. But McCaffrey's really changed my tune on that. And I went back and looked when they made the trade for him because there wasn't a lot of nobody thought this would happen. I think people thought he was going to be a good fit in Kyle Shanahan's offense if you looked at it rationally, but nobody thought this would happen. And if you look back where McCaffrey was at the time, he was all world in 2018 and 2019. And the guy was phenomenal. 2019, he was coming off a year where he had 403 touches, 2,392 all-purpose yards, and 19 touchdowns. I mean, that's just an all-time season. Then he plays 3 games in 2020 and just 7 in 2021. And maybe you're thinking 403 touches, 326 the year before. He's just going to start to break down. He's just not going to be durable anymore. And then he comes through the next season, split with Carolina and San Francisco, and he plays every game and into the playoffs too. He played 20 games that year. And knock on wood, this year, things keep going the way that they are. But like you said, you mentioned those numbers. It's unbelievable. He broke Jerry Rice's record with now he's 13 straight touchdowns for a 49er. And I just think, like I said, we're seeing an all-time 49er season happening before our eyes. The seasons that, for maybe some of you weren't old enough to really watch Rice in his prime, those years that were like, wow, this is special. This is Hall of Fame type stuff. This is not only special to watch on the field, it's statistically special. He's probably going to win awards. That's what you're seeing right now with McCaffrey. He's the 4th player in the Super Bowl era with at least 70 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, 70 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown in a game, joining Sean Alexander, Clinton Portis, and LaDainian Tomlinson. And he joins Emmitt Smith, Arian Foster is the only player since 1990 with a touchdown in 13 consecutive games, including the postseason. Unbelievable, just unbelievable stuff. And if you're a 49ers fan, sit back and watch it and enjoy it, because it's just going to be a legendary season. And I think Kyle seems like he's like, all right, this is my favorite boy, and I'm just going to keep using him and using him and using him. And I want him. Kyle wants him to have an all-time year. You can tell just the way he's deploying him and what he wants at the end of the season to look back and say, yeah, under my watch, this guy had this great season. And aren't the Shanahans and McCaffrey's friends?
Oh yeah.
Did I make that up?
No.
Yeah, they're good friends,
time.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm sure that has a lot to do with it too. He's got family friend there that he's just. What was that?
Ed played for Mike.
Right. Okay, but I didn't know if they were. I thought I read somewhere they were like close friends, and I guess they are.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, they.
That's probably part of it too. Sure. He's like, I'm gonna hook my boy up, and it's just a joy to watch.
And it's funny because you talk about the record that he set, and I just keep thinking, When is there going to be a game where he doesn't score a touchdown? Like, I legitimately
when I
can't
bet it.
think.
When I bet it on FanDuel, he won't score one.
Well, and that's, yeah. So don't, and then we'll have to worry about it. That streak will keep
Never,
going.
not going to do
it. But legitimately, like, again, we've said it before, this offense quite literally is designed around Christian McCaffrey and the running back position. It always has been about the running game, but it's even more about the running game now. And I think one of the things that Kyle loves so much is just the way that quite literally he can fuck with the other defense just by lining guys up in different spots. Like, there was at one point, there was a formation yesterday where it was Debo and Juszczyk in the backfield. And I believe McCaffrey was lined up at inline tight end. And like, just because you could line all of those players up anywhere and they would succeed. And that's really what we talk about when we talk about positionless football, at least on the offensive side, is any one of those players that trot out there in the starting 11, being Debo, Aiyuk, Kittle, CMC, and Juszczyk, you can literally line up anywhere. You could line up Kittle and Debo in the backfield and have Aiyuk split out wide and have McCaffrey in the slot and Juice at tight end. And there's no reason why they couldn't run a dope play from that, because all of those guys can run incredible route trees, and all of those guys can run with the football in their hand. And it's just again, I don't. So the Giants said, okay, well, let's blitz Brock Purdy 87% of his dropbacks. That didn't work. So then Arizona said, you know what? We're only going to blitz on 17% of your dropbacks. That didn't work. Right? It's like, what can you do? If you pick one thing to stop, Kyle Shanahan is going to spam the shit out of what you're not stopping. And he has a quarterback now, and we can move on to Brock now. And he has a quarterback now that he trusts implicitly to do whatever it is that Kyle is asking of him. And Brock rewards that trust game in and game out. And now we get to the point where he's 20 of 21 for 275 yards. And Benjamin Solak, who I love on the Ringer, he's one of those guys where you look at him, you're like, how does this guy know anything about football? And then he opens his mouth and you're like, oh God, this guy knows more about football at, 20. I think he's like 25. I don't know. He's super young, but
yeah,
very
I listen
smart.
To his podcast. He's good.
Yeah, I love Ben, but he tweeted something today about Purdy's 20 of 21 performance. And, he listed all of the performances that had, I think it was like 85% or higher completion percentage on 20 plus pass attempts. And of those, Brock Purdy leads with 20 of 21, which is 90. Was it 90? I don't know. Anyway, but not only did he lead, he also, of that group, had the highest yards per attempt at 8.2 yards. So it wasn't like he was, as he's been accused of doing, dinking and dunking and throwing a ton of passes behind the line of scrimmage like he did against the Giants, right? Why? Because they weren't blitzing, right? So Kyle Shanahan wasn't calling plays like that. And that's where, it's maddening to me a little bit when you start to get into this Brock Purdy conversation. And is Brock Purdy a good quarterback? Is he not? I'm so tired of it, because it's like he operates the offense that he's in at a level that nobody else has underneath Kyle Shanahan. What else is he supposed to do? And so again, yesterday, 275 yards, 8.2 yards per attempt. That's almost every attempt went to the sticks or beyond. And I think it was two. I think he had two passes behind the line of scrimmage. One was to Christian McCaffrey, which ended up being McCaffrey's third rushing touchdown because it was a backwards pass. Then there was one more, and I don't remember who it was to. But yeah, this offense, again, you're going to gear up to stop the run. Cool. Brock will pick you apart. You're gonna make sure that Purdy doesn't hurt you. Cool. That means that Christian McCaffrey is going to run the ball down your throat. And it's just like, again, pick your poison. And regardless of what happens, this team is sleepwalking to 30 every week.
Yeah. 30 plus again with Deebo Samuel and George Kittle combining for 1 catch for 9 yards. Like you said, pick your poison. They can choose who they're going to beat you with that day. And Purdy. Oh, well, before we get to Purdy, I had one more McCaffrey stat I forgot to say.
Yeah.
The only players in NFL history with 600 plus yards from scrimmage and 7 plus touchdowns in the first 4 games of the season. Jim Brown did it twice. Emmitt Smith did it in 1995, and McCaffrey this year. Again,
Good
special,
company.
special. And he brought up Purdy, and it's just, if you're a Niners fan, again, it's been decades waiting for a quarterback. Enjoy this. Don't nitpick it, like you said. Enjoy what you're seeing on the field for a guy who went 20 of 21, who was in complete control, who beat Steve Young's previous completion percentage. Steve Young was 18 of 20, I believe in 1990 against the Lions, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
Purdy comes out and beats that this year. And the thing with Purdy for me, and I'm going to read some stats, but every time it looks like, not that the game is going to slip away, because again, I think the Niners are just better than these teams. But when there's an opportunity for it to slip away, at the end of the half against the Rams, when the Giants pulled in close, and even in this game, it got to be 21-16. I never thought the Niners were going to lose. I never felt that way. But with Purdy, he just constantly responds. He's constantly cool. It's like he never lets it, along with his teammates, never let it get to that point. Purdy's through 4 games of the season, so we're just about at the quarter mark, 17 games now, just a little bit below that, I guess. He's first in the NFL with a QBR at 84.5. He's first in the NFL at passer rating at 115.1. He's third in completion percentage, 72.3. He's 8th in yards. When was the last time the Niners had a guy throw for 4,000? It was Jeff Garcia. Garoppolo came close, but it was Jeff Garcia. 8th in yards with 1,019, on his way to well over 4,000 right now. Yards per attempt, 9.1. That's second. It's ridiculous. 9 yards per attempt is ridiculous. And his interception percentage continues to be tied for first because you know what, Brian? He hasn't thrown one.
It is zero. And I'm sorry, I do not want to hear about, like, if you're nitpicking to the point where you're like, oh, well, he almost threw one against the Giants and George Kittle did knock it down. Go watch the rest of the NFL. Go watch the rest of these quarterbacks, most of whom in this league are playing terrible. There is so much bad QB play in the league right now. Purdy, we went through, would we rank him 10th at best when we went through the list a show or two ago? 10th at best, like 15th at worst.
If you look at the way, you're right, the way people are playing, like Joe Burrow body of work is better than Purdy, obviously.
Sure.
But the way Burrow's playing right now, he's not playing well. No. Some of those guys, Trevor Lawrence, hasn't always looked that great this year. So the way some of these guys are playing, Purdy is playing at an extremely high level right now. Another stat, his QB efficiency, EPA per play through 4 weeks with a minimum of 80 dropbacks, 0.46, highest in the league. Next closest is Tua at 0.38. So he's just all over the NFL in terms of like leading passer stats. He is cool, calm, and collective on the field. And his team is just like you said, they can sleepwalk their way to 30 points. I still don't think they played their best game, offensive or defensively, and they always find a way to hit 30 points. He's done it every time he's played a full game except twice, on a Thursday night in Seattle and in the division game against Dallas. And we'll see how he does this week against a very good Cowboys defense. But what he's done to this point in his career, astonishing. And for a 7th round pick, it's one of the best stories in the league.
Yeah. And you mentioned EPA, and for anybody who's listening that doesn't know, that stands for expected points added, which is just a stat that basically says, like, hey, when this happens, this team can expect to add this many points to their score, right? So 0.4, what you said, 0.48. So essentially every time Brock Purdy drops back, the 49ers can expect to add half a point to their eventual point total. That's what EPA means. Something that I thought was astonishing, I heard this earlier, says nothing to do with the 49ers. It's just a wild stat. On Sunday, the game that Stephon Diggs had with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs had 2.1 EPA per intended target, which means every time that Josh Allen threw the ball to Stephon Diggs, the Bills essentially added 2 points to their score. Like, that's
That Bills game was
insanity.
so much fun.
That is
Such a
wild.
fun game.
Yeah, that is wild. But the other thing that I thought was interesting, Nick Wagner from ESPN tweeted this out yesterday. It's not, we went into the season saying, I wonder if Purdy can do what he did last season, right? Whether you're worried about the elbow, whether you're worried about, and rightfully so, just regression in general, right? You got to expect something like that. Regression, the elbow, whatever. In 2022, Brock Purdy averaged 2.93 seconds per pass attempt, with 7 air yards per attempt and 8.4 yards per attempt. In 2023, he's averaged 2.56 seconds before release, with 7.2 air yards per attempt and 9.1 yards per attempt, which is to say the ball is coming out quicker and he's throwing it further down the field, and they are gaining more yards per completion than they did last year. So no, he hasn't regressed. In fact, he has improved. And you look at the game on Saturday, right? What happened in the Rams game? Overthrew the 3 deep passes that he had, right? All we could talk about. Can he complete those? Well, 2 weeks later, what happens? Completes the 4 of the deep passes that he had. He was 4 for 4, including 2 big time throws to Brandon Aiyuk. So yeah, it's, we talked about the interceptions in camp. Matt Miyoko basically trolled himself on on Sunday when or maybe it was even this morning
too. I've been talking some shit about that. The practice interceptions. Give me a break.
Well, and that's the thing is that was the storyline, right? And it turns out, what does Brock Purdy use practice for? Exactly what you're supposed to use practice for. Figure out what you can get away with going against the best defense in the league in practice, so that when you step on the field on Sunday, hey, I can get away with this throw, or no, I can't get away with this throw. And he's such a good decision maker. And it makes all the difference in the world. And it's just really, really fun to watch.
Dude, they had 5 third downs in this game. That's it. 5. They were so efficient. Arizona outran 67 plays. The Niners ran 53. They're so efficient in this game. And you mentioned the long passes. Yeah, I think Purdy came in 0 for 3 on 30-plus yard throws, and he hit both throws in this game. Mm-hmm. 2, again, a guy who just keeps ascending, and he was, I believe, the number 1 rated receiver this week on PFF. Although if you watch Diggs' game, I kind of find it hard to believe, but who knows?
Yeah.
But he was phenomenal again, Brandon Aiyuk, in this game. He had 6 targets, and he came down with each of them for gains of 20, 34, 25, 42, 11, and 16. I mean, that's as good as you can get with that.
And that was a career game for him.
Yeah, again, just like week 1 was. And the only thing that stopped him is that shoulder or neck injury, whatever it was, when he really wasn't healthy in the Rams game and then missed the Giants game, because in really 2.5 games, he's got 17 catches for 320 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. And we've been talking all offseason, all preseason, like, we think this guy is headed towards stardom. This is his year. And again, for the first quarter of the season, it has been. He's going to make himself a lot of money. Like, dude, I hope the Niners can get him signed. Dude's making 20+ million, 22 million a year on the open market. Somebody is going to pay the hell out of Brandon Aiyuk.
Yeah.
Brandon Aiyuk, if he goes to a pass-happy team, can have a Stephon Diggs type impact. I really believe that. Too. If he wanted to do something like that. Now, I think the Niners are going to do everything they can to sign him, especially after the season he's having this year, and especially after the rapport he has with Purdy. They clearly have a good thing going. He is their best. Debo is a weapon. Brandon Aiyuk is their best wide receiver. And I think it's imperative that they sign him, because he is, like I said, if he goes somewhere else, you get a lot of dough, dude.
Well, and I think, you look at the way that they've manipulated the cap, and everybody saw the news when they created such an immense amount of cap space this season after the Bosa extension. And everyone's like, oh, what is the move? What is the move? Well, I think the move is, well, shit, we got to pay Brandon Aiyuk, and you can roll over unused cap space to the following year. They literally did it, I think, just to make a move midseason if there is one to be made. And I do think there is one to be made. And I think we can get into that here in a second, where I think that move should be made. But yeah, they're gonna. I have a hard time thinking that they are just going to be willing to let Brandon Aiyuk go for a compensatory third round pick. Like, they're not. They're going to sign him, and that's the thing is Debo's expensive next year, and he's expensive the year after that. But then it's done. His was just a 4-year deal, and there's plenty of ways to manipulate the cap. Purdy is still cheap for 2 more seasons, although, I mean, he's going to play this season, and then he's not even eligible for an extension until after next season. But after next season, I imagine they will look to extend him. And so, things will get, I don't want to say dicey, but things will get complicated. But I can't imagine them being willing to part with Brandon Aiyuk, because dude is a superstar. And I think you could argue he's one of the 10 best wide receivers in the NFL right now.
Right now. Yeah. And I think we've been talking about this 2-year window, and the extension of that window now, again, if things continue the way that they are, we know it's Bosa because he's just signed that big contract, but it's Purdy and Aiyuk. Maybe there's your extension. When we're wondering, where are they going to be? They have to find a quarterback. Maybe they have that now. Maybe that's their extension. Purdy, Aiyuk, Bosa. These are guys that you build around as some of these other guys maybe get in the twilight, Armstead and Kittle, Trent Williams. And they'll obviously make left tackle a priority. They seem like they always do when that time comes. But so you mentioned, okay, because I want to get into the defense a little bit. And I think you alluded to a move you wanted to make. And I'm going to assume you mean the defense, but I don't know. What were you thinking with that?
Well, one of the things that we saw yesterday, well, 2 things. One, Jake Moody, stop kicking the damn ball out of bounds on kickoffs. Just stop. You've done it twice now. That's 2 times too many. Knock it the hell off.
Do you need to have another intervention?
Maybe if he kicks another one out of bounds, we will have another intervention, because we saw that it worked. It worked, right? Hasn't missed the kick. It did. Hasn't missed. You
were solely responsible for his career turning around. I don't know if he knows that.
I should probably put that in my Twitter bio, but
you should. Let him
Jake
know.
Moody, Jake Moody motivator. But on that drive, that was the drive of the Cardinals scored their touchdown. And I don't know if you noticed, but who got abused through the air on that drive? It was Ambry Thomas. And Ambry Thomas was on the field because Isaiah Oliver was not, and they moved Demo to the slot and put Ambry Thomas outside. I know Darrell Luter Jr., I know they're high on him, and he will be coming off the PUP soon. So there is some reinforcement there, but Darrell Luter Jr. is a rookie. I would love to see now. I mean, my ideal move, and I've said it already on here, I would love to see them get Pat Surtain from the Broncos. I mean, if they can make that happen, well, just unreal. But I think they just need somebody, and maybe it is Anthony Brown, who is on the team already, former Cowboys corner, coming off I want to say Achilles injury. Didn't play a lot last year, but has played quite a few games as a starting corner in the NFL. He is currently on the roster. I think they're just kind of giving him time to get up to speed. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see him more on the field against Dallas, especially if for whatever reason they do need to put Demo in the slot and they need somebody outside. I think they would go with Brown, because Ambry Thomas is just not it. He's just not it. He had a Jimmy Garoppolo level 5-game stretch to end 2021 where it was like, oh, okay, I think we have something here. And then for whatever reason, it just hasn't clicked since then. So depth at corner is a concern that I have, especially if either Oliver isn't cutting it in the slot, and so you need something different there, because Womack's gone for a while. His knee injury is keeping him out. I think they said 6 to 8 weeks. So depth at the corner position is really my biggest concern for this team right now. And obviously It hasn't hurt them thus far, but they are going to start playing some better teams coming up here. This stretch that starts with the Cowboys is a pretty difficult stretch. I would like to see that position shored up. And one of the things that I was wondering is we haven't seen a lot of Jair Brown on the field. He's played a lot in special teams, right? Their third round rookie safety. I wonder if they have, and I have no idea, but I wonder if they've dabbled with seeing what he would look like in the slot. I think that could be an interesting option for them. Again, if for whatever reason, because I think Oliver has been fine. There have been stretches where he's been not great, but overall, I think he's been fine and he's been good in run support. But like I said, if he goes down, and again, I don't know what happened on Sunday, why he wasn't on the field in during that stretch and why Ambry Thomas was, because I believe he came back later in the game. So I don't know if he got pulled for ineffectiveness. I'm not sure, but yeah, I would like to see them address some depth at the cornerback position. But again, we're talking about picking nits, right? Because this team just looks real good.
And the defense has only given up 58 points in 4 games, and I don't think we've seen the best of them yet. By any
no, I don't think that is so at all.
That could be because Nick Bosa is working his way back. That could be because Steve Wilkes is a new coordinator and everything's getting felt out still. But that's the scary part of this team. The offense seems like it's going to sleepwalk the 30 points like we talked about. And the defense, when it's at its best, probably isn't giving up much more than 15 in most games in that area. So this team can be absolutely dominant. Now, like you said, there's a tough stretch coming up. This Cowboys game is huge. I'm not going to go. We'll talk about the game. We're going to actually have Damon Bruce on this week to preview the game with us. We'll talk about that, but I'm not going to go crazy if they lose that game because, again, I think this game to Dallas is like Super Bowl level to them just because the Niners have knocked them out. I feel like the Niners are going to win the game, but I won't go crazy if they lose it. But actually, you know what, Brian? They don't really have a tough stretch because the Browns, the Vikings, and the Bengals, that doesn't look as tough as it did when the season started.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Once they get this Dallas game through, you're talking maybe one loss going into the bye, I think, right now. I'm so positive with this team right now that they're just I don't remember the last time I've been this positive about this team. But yeah, the defense to me, the defense we're seeing now, I don't think is going to be the defense we're seeing 4 or 5, 6 weeks from now. I think it's going to continue to get better.
It's kind of, to me, it's kind of similar to the Dolphins, right? Like Vic Fangio's defense has not looked great thus far. And they got absolutely torched on Sunday by the Bills, and Josh Allen went just beast mode on them. It's probably arguably the best game that Josh Allen's ever played outside of that playoff game against Kansas City, where each team just said, screw defense, we'll just trade touchdowns. That's all we need to do. But I agree. I think they're going, and just like I say, Vic Fangio's defense in Miami is going to look different by January. And I think the same thing with this 49ers defense. It's just, I think it has everything to do with priors, right? Like we've spent since 2019, we've spent 4 years now as fans watching this team, knowing this team is a defensive team who has an offensive mastermind at coach, but that coach is limited by the guy operating the offense. And so we're just used to, hey, we're going to go into this game thinking our defense is going to smother the opposing team. And as long as we don't turn the ball over, we should win this game. And now it's more like, hey, we're going to go into this game and we're probably going to score 30 or close to it. So as long as the defense doesn't just shit the bed, we should win this game. And this defense is so good that it's rare that they're going to just shit the bed. So again, it's like you just have these maybe they're unrealistic expectations. Like I'll tell you what, the first time this team doesn't score 30, I'm gonna be like, what the hell happened? What happened today? You know what I mean? And it's like, man, talk about fan privilege, because that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they're scoring at an absolutely historic rate right now. And the guy who you said was maybe holding them back behind center didn't play this week and still held on to his lead league in interceptions. So congratulations to him for still having six picks to lead the league, or 5, 6, whatever he's got so far. But yeah, it's definitely been an upgrade back there, despite what you think of Jimmy. It's hard to argue that Brock is an upgrade there. Did you watch the Jets and the Chiefs last night? Oh, I think we lost Brian for a second. Sorry, Brian, you back?
Sorry, my stupid dog is barking, so I was just closing the door.
I did.
Right.
Spencer can edit that.
Yeah,
I'll ask it again. Did you watch the Jets and the Chiefs last night?
I did watch the Jets and the Chiefs last night, and I about had a conniption fit on that 3rd and 22 conversion when Jawan Taylor, the left tackle of the Chiefs, is just blatantly holding Jermaine Johnson, the defensive end of the New York Jets, and it doesn't get called. Like, what are we doing?
He was waving his arms up in the air like this guy
slapped him in the face. Like, what? Like, and the ref is standing right there, and I'm just like, this is like, at a certain point, you just have to understand that the NFL knows that it's an issue and they don't care. And I'm not one for conspiracy theories, because largely I think that is just a coping mechanism for most people. But there are some really, really easy fixes to help the NFL and their officiating issues. The biggest one being eye in the sky, which many professional sports leagues around the world, especially soccer leagues, use all the time. And the NFL refuses to even talk about it. And to me, that says more about them wanting this type of thing happening than anything else. Because, you know, you think about what happened at that game? Why was that game so special? Who was at that game?
I can't. Like,
right.
So she was there. We get Taylor Swift was there. How many times did NBC have to show her? And I love me some T Swift, but come on.
Well, and I think it's the NFL going, listen, this is going to attract female female viewers for the first time in a long time, and we don't have to do anything. We just have to show her being here, right? Like Travis Kelce's jerseys up 400%. You know who got the second highest jersey bump last week? Jason Kelce, his brother, which I thought was interesting. Really? Yeah. And then Travis Kelce gained like millions of Instagram followers, and also Jason Kelce gained the second most Instagram followers. So, you know, the Swifties are all in. But with that being said, again, they pushed it so hard. Do we think that they wanted the Chiefs to win that game? I'm hard pressed to think that they didn't.
You know, people are going to come up with that, the script, right? But here's the thing: I'm sitting on my couch and I'm like, you know, the officials, I feel like, haven't sucked that bad this year. Literally said that to myself 5 minutes before that play, and then the pass interference call, which to me at best it was ticky tack, but it's just for me. Use your judgment. You aren't calling that all game. There was a lot of grabbing and tugging, which I'm fine. That's part of the game. I want that to happen.
Right.
But you don't call it up. Don't call it when it's going to affect the result of the game at the end of the game. Don't call it at a critical point in the game at the end. So, and then the way that it just looked really bad. So the foul apparently happens, and then Mahomes throws it and it gets picked off, and the ref doesn't throw the flag until after the ball is picked off. So regardless of why he did that or whatever, it just looked really bad. And it's another game at the end where you're about to have an exciting finish. To me, it's better for the league if the Jets have the ball and Zach Wilson, who finally has a good game, has a chance to come back and redeem that fumble.
Absolutely.
That's the great story for the NFL.
That's a phenomenal story. Yeah.
Not the Chiefs won on a couple penalties and we got to show Taylor Swift 15 times. That would have been a great story to me. And that didn't happen again because the NFL took that away from us, the officiating. Just like in the Super Bowl, I thought. And again, people could say whatever, but if that call doesn't get made in the Super Bowl, you get to see Jalen Hurts come back and try to win it, who was having a phenomenal game. So like you said, they can fix this stuff. they choose not to. And I thought Robert Saleh was going to punch the guy. I mean, he was livid, and I can't blame
Rightfully
him.
so. Yeah,
The
rightfully
guy's
so.
now 1-9 in his last 10 starts. He's had the worst luck in the world with the Aaron Rodgers thing, and these guys the NFL just doesn't want to stop it. So I hope it won't be an issue. In another 4 weeks from now, I'll be like, oh, it hasn't been that bad. But it just seems to me like it's never, the incompetence and the inconsistency is just never going to end.
Yeah, and Rich Eisen, right? Rich Eisen, who, I mean, you could say is a mouthpiece for the NFL. He tweeted out, Robert Saleh should say something at the press conference and get fined. Like, that's what he should do because it's so egregious and so blatant. And I was like, absolutely. And that's the thing, is this isn't going to change until coaches and players and fans make the NFL change it. And I don't know what that looks like, but man, it is gross. Like, it's embarrassing. It should be embarrassing for the league. And no, it's not, because they're making money hand over fist. And that is the bottom line. But that, like I said, like that's an embarrassing missed call. There's no excuse for missing that holding call against Jawaan Taylor. None.
Yeah.
None. I mean, you could debate the call against New York, the defensive holding against Sauce Gardner. You could debate that. Like, I could see throwing the flag. It needed to happen sooner, like you said, because the timing of it made it seem pretty one-sided. But I mean, you could argue that. There's no arguing that Jawaan Taylor is holding the shit out of Jermaine Johnson.
Right.
Like fistful of jersey and everything. And it's just like, come on. Like, you're standing right there. You can see it. There's no way that you can't. So that was irritating to me. And, and I felt bad for our guy, Bobby Sauls, right?
Can my man catch a break, please?
All gas, no brakes. And there's just, been no gas to be had in New York for him. So
poor guy, man. Poor guy.
Tough. Yeah.
All right. We got a big show coming up on Thursday for a gigantic game. We're going to preview the Niners Cowboys with Damon Bruce. So that's going to be a lot of fun for us. So
that'll be awesome.
Until then, for Brian, I'm Al.
Later.